You picked a country, you picked a beach, you did the math, and on paper, it all works, but here's the part nobody tells you. The thing that hits about 6 months in, the thing that quietly drains your savings while you're sipping coffee on a balcony you can finally afford. Most Americans who retire abroad never see it coming. And by the time they do, they've already lost months of peace and thousands of dollars trying to fix it. So let me show you what's coming next. Because if you're even thinking about doing this, the next few minutes could save you more grief than you can imagine. Let's start with the dream. You're tired of the cost of living back home, tired of watching your grocery bill climb while your fixed income stays exactly the same, tired of paying $800 a month just for health insurance that still leaves you with bills. So you look south or across an ocean and you find places where the rent is $400 a month, where dinner for two costs $12, where the sun shines almost every day and the people smile and the pace of life slows down to something human again. You see the videos, you see the smiling couples on the rooftop with the wine glasses, and something in you says, why not me? And honestly, you're right to feel that. The dream is real. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have done it. The numbers are staggering. More than 400,000 Americans now receive their Social Security checks at an address outside the United States. And that's just the ones collecting Social Security abroad. The real number of expats is far higher. So this isn't a fantasy. People are doing it. People are happy. But here's where the story turns. Because for every couple that thrives, there's another that comes home within 2 years. Quietly, a little embarrassed, a little poorer, and almost always for reasons they never saw on the brochure. Let me tell you about the first thing that blindsides people, the money math. You did the math, right? Rent, food, utilities, and it all looked beautiful. But you did the math on the visible costs. The costs nobody advertises are the ones that get you. Let's talk about taxes. Here's a fact that shocks almost everyone. The United States is one of only 2 countries on earth that taxes its citizens no matter where they live. You could move to the other side of the planet, you could live there for 20 years, and you still have to file a U.S. tax return every single year for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter that you're not earning a paycheck in America. It doesn't matter that you're retired. If you're a U.S. citizen, the tax man still wants his form. And it gets more complicated because now you might owe taxes in 2 places. Your new country and the old one. Yes, there are treaties. Yes, there are exclusions and credits that often mean you don't pay double. But you still have to file. You still have to prove it. And if you get it wrong, the penalties are brutal. Let me give you one example that catches people completely off guard. If you move your money abroad and you have more than $10,000 sitting in foreign bank accounts at any point in the year, you have to report it. There's a special form for it. And if you forget, if you simply didn't know, the penalty can be $10,000 for a single mistake per year. Imagine that. You moved abroad to save money, and one piece of paperwork you never heard of costs you $10,000. That's the part nobody puts in the sunny videos. But taxes are just the beginning. Let's talk about healthcare. This is the big one. This is the one that brings people home. Here's what most folks don't realize until it's too late. Medicare does not follow you abroad. Let me say that again, because it's that important. The Medicare you paid into your entire working life, the coverage you're counting on, in almost every case, it does not cover you outside the United States. So picture this. You're 70 years old, you've moved to your dream town overseas, and one morning your chest tightens, or you slip on the stairs, or something just feels wrong, you go to the hospital. And the care might actually be excellent. Many countries have wonderful doctors in modern hospitals, but you're paying out of pocket. And here's the trap. A lot of new expats keep paying their Medicare premiums back home, just in case. So they're paying for coverage they can't use and paying again for care where they actually live. Double cost, and it gets worse. Let's say things go really wrong, a serious diagnosis, something that needs ongoing treatment. Now you're thinking about coming home for care. But if you drop certain parts of your Medicare while you were away, getting back in can come with permanent penalties. Lifelong penalties, a surcharge on your premium that never goes away. So now the dream is costing you for the rest of your life, even after you've returned. These are the things that don't fit on a postcard. And I'm not telling you this to scare you off. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you how the smart ones handle every single piece of this. But first, you have to see the full picture, because there's more. Let's talk about the part that's harder to measure, the part that has nothing to do with money. Loneliness. You move abroad with your spouse, or maybe on your own. The first few months feel like an extended vacation. Everything is new, everything is exciting, the market is charming. The neighbors wave, and then the vacation feeling fades the way it always does. And you realize you don't speak the language. Not really. You can order coffee, you can point at things, but you can't have a real conversation. You can't make a deep friend. You can't explain to the pharmacist exactly what's wrong or understand the doctor when it matters most. And the grandkids. Oh, the grandkids. You told yourself you'd fly back twice a year. But flights are expensive and long. And twice a year turns into once a year. And you miss the birthday. You miss the school play. You see your granddaughter on a small screen, and she's grown 2 inches since the last time, and there's a little ache in your chest that no amount of sunshine fixes. This is the cost nobody warns you about. The emotional one, and it's the number one reason people pack up and come home. Not the money, the isolation. So now you might be thinking, okay, maybe this whole thing is a bad idea. Maybe I should just stay put and accept the high cost of living back home. No, that's not the answer either, because the dream is still real. The savings are still real. The better quality of life is still absolutely possible. The difference between the people who thrive and the people who flee comes down to one thing: preparation. The ones who struggle treated this like a vacation that just kept going. They booked a flight, found an apartment, and figured they'd handle the rest when they got there. The ones who thrive treated it like the major life transition it actually is. They planned for the invisible stuff: the taxes, the healthcare, the legal residency, the community. And here's the good news. Every single one of these problems has a solution. A clear, doable solution. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to know the steps before you go, instead of learning them the hard way after. So let me walk you through it. Let me show you how the smart ones do it. Start with the money. Before you fall in love with a country, you run the real numbers. Not the brochure numbers, the real ones. You sit down and you list every cost that follows you. Your U.S. tax filing. The cost of a good accountant who understands expat taxes, because trust me, you want one. Your foreign account reporting, the visa fees, the residency renewal fees, which come around every year or two in many places, and then you add a cushion, a real cushion, because the surprise costs are the ones that sink people. Now, here's a tip that changes everything. Before you commit, you go and live there. Not for a week, for 3 months, 6 months if you can. You rent, you don't buy anything, you don't ship your whole life over. You go and you live like a local through more than just the perfect season, because that paradise in the dry season might be a flooded, humid nightmare 4 months later. And you only find that out by being there. This one move, this trial run, saves more people from disaster than anything else. It's the single smartest thing you can do. You treat it like dating before marriage. You don't propose on the first date. Now let's solve the healthcare problem, because this is the one that feels overwhelming, and it really doesn't have to be. Here's what the smart ones know. In many of the countries Americans love to retire to, private health insurance is shockingly affordable. We're talking about comprehensive coverage for a fraction of what you'd pay in the States. In some countries, a retired couple can get solid private coverage for under $200 a month combined. Compare that to what you were paying back home. And in a number of countries, once you become a legal resident, you can actually buy into the public healthcare system for a modest monthly fee, real coverage, real hospitals for very little. So the trick is this: you research the healthcare system before you pick the country. You don't pick the beach first and figure out the doctors later. You make healthcare a top 3 factor in where you go. You look at the quality of hospitals near where you'd actually live, not in the capital, where you'd live, You find out how the locals and other expats get covered, and you build that into your plan from day one. And about Medicare, here's the strategy the informed ones use. Many of them keep one specific part of Medicare active, even abroad, the part that costs them nothing extra to keep because they already paid for it through decades of work. That way, if they ever need to come home for a major surgery or a serious illness, the door is still open, no lifelong penalty, no permanent surcharge. They talk to someone who actually understands the rules before they drop anything. One conversation, that's all it takes to avoid a mistake that haunts people for years. You see how this works? Every scary problem becomes a simple checklist item once you know it exists. That's the whole secret. Knowing it exists before it bites you. Now let's handle the legal side, the residency, because this trips people up too. You cannot just show up and stay forever. A tourist visa runs out, usually in 90 days, sometimes less, and the people who try to live abroad, bouncing in and out on tourist stamps, end up in a stressful, fragile situation. Constant border runs, the fear of being turned away. It's no way to live in retirement. The smart ones get proper residency. And here's the part that surprises people. It's often much easier than you'd think. Many countries have specific visas designed for retirees. They actually want you. They want your steady income coming into their economy. In a lot of these places, all you have to prove is that you receive a certain amount of guaranteed monthly income, sometimes as little as $1,000 or $2,000 a month from Social Security or a pension. You show the income, you provide some documents, and you get a residency that lets you stay legally year after year. Some of these visas even come with perks, discounts for retirees on flights, on medicine, on entertainment, on property taxes, real benefits written into law just for being a retired resident. But you have to apply the right way with the right documents, often before you even leave the United States, because some of those documents are far easier to get while you're still home. Things like an FBI background check, a birth certificate with special certification, marriage records, these take time. And trying to get them mailed to you overseas is a nightmare. So the prepared ones gather everything before they fly. They get the documents, they get them certified, they get them translated if needed, and they walk into their new country ready instead of scrambling. Now let's solve the loneliness. Because remember, this is the real killer. You can fix every financial and legal problem and still come home miserable if you don't solve this one. Here's how the thrivers do it. First, they don't move to the middle of nowhere, at least not at the start. They move to a place that already has a community, a town where other expats have settled, where there are clubs, meetups, volunteer groups, places where you can walk in already speaking your language and make a friend the first week. There's no shame in that. Starting where there's community gives you a soft landing. You can always go more remote later once you've found your feet. Second, they learn the language, even just the basics. They start before they leave, a little every day. Because the moment you can have a real conversation with a local, the whole country opens up to you. The neighbors become friends. The shopkeeper remembers your name. You stop feeling like a tourist and start feeling like you belong. And belonging is the whole game. Third, they plan for the grandkids on purpose. They don't leave it to chance. They build the flights into the budget from the start. 2 trips a year, booked, planned, paid for in the plan. And here's a beautiful twist. A lot of expats find their family visits more, not less. Because now there's a reason to come. Now the family vacation is at Grandma and Grandpa's place by the ocean. The grandkids beg to come. What felt like a loss becomes the thing that brings everyone together. It's all in how you set it up. So let's pull this together, because I want you to see how doable this really is. The 4 things that bring people home: money surprises, healthcare gaps, legal trouble, and loneliness. And the 4 solutions: run the real numbers and do a trial run before you commit. Make healthcare a top priority and protect your Medicare the smart way. Get proper residency with your documents ready before you leave, and land in a community where you can build a real life. That's it. That's the whole difference between the couple that comes home defeated and the couple that sends you photos from their rooftop 10 years later, happier than you've ever seen them. It was never about luck. It was never about being rich. It was about knowing what's coming next. And now you do. Let me tell you about the kind of people who make this work so you can see yourself in them. They're not adventurers with no fear. They're regular people. A retired teacher and her husband, a widower who decided he wasn't done living, a couple who looked at their retirement savings and realized it would stretch twice as far in another country and decided to be brave about it. These are people on fixed incomes, people who watched every dollar, people who were scared, just like you might be right now, and the ones who made it work all had something in common. They got the information first, they didn't wing it. They didn't trust a slick video that only showed the sunshine. They dug into the boring stuff, the taxes, the visas, the healthcare, and because they did, they got to enjoy the good stuff with total peace of mind. That's the real secret. The boring preparation is what buys you the carefree life. Skip the preparation and you spend your retirement stressed and scrambling. Do the preparation and you spend it on the balcony with the coffee and the view. Same dream, completely different outcome. And it all comes down to what you know before you go. Now, I want to be straight with you about something. This is a big decision, maybe the biggest one left in your life. Leaving the country you've known, leaving the systems you understand. It takes courage. But staying somewhere that's slowly draining your savings and your spirit takes a quiet kind of courage too. The kind nobody claps for. And here's a truth worth sitting with. The cost of living back home isn't going down. Healthcare isn't getting cheaper. Your fixed income isn't suddenly going to stretch further next year. So the question isn't really whether the dream is risky. The question is whether staying exactly where you are is risky too. For a lot of people, when they finally do the honest math, the scariest thing isn't leaving, it's staying. And realizing years later that they could have had so much more freedom, more sunshine, more money in the bank, more life. I'm not here to push you out the door. I'm here to tell you that the door is open and it's not nearly as frightening as it looks once you understand what's behind it. Think about what your days could look like. You wake up without an alarm. The light comes through the window. You make coffee and you carry it out to a balcony or a little garden or a porch that catches the morning sun. The air is warm. You have nowhere to rush. Your monthly costs are half what they used to be, maybe less. You're not lying awake doing anxious arithmetic at 3 a.m. You go to the market and you buy fresh food for a few dollars. You know the woman who sells the fruit, and she knows you. In the afternoon, you meet friends, expats and locals both, people you've built real bonds with. And when the family visits, you show them a life they can hardly believe is yours. That's not a fantasy. That's a Tuesday for the people who did this right. And the only thing standing between you and that Tuesday is information, the right steps, in the right order, before you make a single move. So here's what I'd gently suggest. Don't book a flight tomorrow, and don't slam the door on the idea either. Do the one thing the Thrivers all did first. Get educated before you get on a plane. Sit down and start a real list. Write down the countries that have caught your eye, and next to each one, start answering the real questions. How do they handle healthcare for residents? What's the retiree visa? And what income do you need to qualify? How big is the expat community where you'd actually want to live? What does it really cost to live there, not for a tourist, but for a resident? And how would your U.S. taxes work once you're there? Just starting that list will tell you more than 100 dreamy videos, because it moves you from fantasy into a plan. And a plan is the thing that turns a scary leap into a series of small, manageable steps. You don't have to solve it all today. You just have to start asking the real questions, the questions that the brochures and the highlight reels never answer, the ones we talked about today, the taxes that follow you, the Medicare that doesn't, the visa you need. The community that keeps you sane. You now know more than most people who actually get on the plane. Think about that. Most folks move abroad knowing less than you know right now. That's exactly why so many come home. But you, you've seen what's coming next, and that changes everything. So take a breath, picture the life, and then promise yourself one thing, that if you do this, you'll do it the smart way. The prepared way, the way that protects your money and your health and your heart, because the dream really is out there. The warm mornings, the lower costs, the slower, richer days. It's real and it's reachable, and ordinary people claim it every single year. The only difference between them and the ones who fail is what they knew before they went. Now you know it too. So start your list tonight. Pick your top country and begin asking the real questions one by one. That single step taken today is how every great retirement abroad actually begins. Not with a plane ticket, with a plan. You've got everything you need to start that plan right now. So go ahead, take the first small step. Your balcony, your coffee, and your warm, bright morning are closer than you think. And this time, you'll see exactly what's coming next. Let me leave you with a few last things the Thrivers always remember. Don't sell everything back home right away. Rent out your house if you can. Keep one foot anchored until you're certain, because certainty comes from living it, not guessing at it. Keep a bank account open in the United States. You'll need it for your Social Security, for your tax payments, for the moments when something needs a familiar address. Get a mailing service that scans your mail and sends it to you, so a missed letter never becomes a missed deadline. And find your people early. The expats who came before you are a gold mine. They've made the mistakes already. They know which neighborhood floods, which doctor speaks English, which lawyer to trust with your residency papers. Ask them. They love to help. They remember being new and scared. And one more thing. Be patient with yourself in those first few months. There will be a hard day, a day when nothing makes sense and you miss home. That's normal. That passes. The ones who push through that first wave almost always come out the other side in love with their new life. So plan well, start slow, stay curious, and let the adventure begin the right way.